quick look at the legislation around service charge invoices and debt collection. So if you live in a block of flats, obviously you will almost certainly be responsible for some repair obligations, which I've touched on in the other videos. If you want to have a look back through the playlist, they are specific leasehold information videos. This is what we do for a main job here. Obviously there are other videos, but if you're specifically interested in leasehold, please do go and check those out. So basically everybody in the building will be responsible for some level of service charge, and one of the main things that people get wrong when they self-manage is that they just basically say we're a block of 7, divide by 7. Well, first of all, in the lease it will say exactly how much each flat or property needs to pay, and if it's a converted building, it is highly unlikely that you will all pay the same. Some cases you will, some cases you won't. So number one thing, check the lease. The next thing is obviously make sure that the demands that you're sending out, or the service charge invoices, are in line with the lease. So if it says they must be presented and due on the 25th of March and the 29th of September, that's quite common in most leases because they're English quartile dates, then you must produce the bills in good time for those. Normally the month before would be sort of standard, so 21 days, or perhaps if it's the 25th of March, you would be looking to raise it sometime in February so that people have got good time to pay. Often the lease says it's not 21 days after the due date, it's actually due on the due date. So you need to have a look in the wording there. Now, to some degree, it doesn't matter too much if you send out the bills and you're a bit tardy with chasing people and the rest of it. That's fine. There's no legislation around hunting people down for the money. But obviously, the longer you leave it, the more difficult it generally is. So let's say you have an example where you sent someone a bill, they haven't paid it, and you're now wondering what to do. Well, rule of thumb would be that you would normally send them a gentle reminder and then another letter, perhaps with an administration charge, and then after that you may seek to hand it over to solicitors. That's a kind of normal sort of 3-step approach to things. Now, that 3-step approach relies on several things. One is, have you sent the bills out in line with the lease? Because if you haven't, then they probably aren't valid. So first of all, you need to do that. Even if you've agreed amongst yourselves that you're all just going to chip in a certain amount in the pot and the rest of it, and you know, month by month you're going to do that, and that's fine, and you're not going to send bills out. If somebody gets into arrears, in theory they could turn around and say, well, I didn't agree to that, even though I know we all agreed to it, but I've now changed my mind. What does the lease say? Well, you haven't asked for the money in line with the lease, so it isn't due. So now you have to go back and ask for money in line with the lease and start that exercise all over again. Obviously, if you have missed those dates, you can send retrospective bills out, but obviously you'll need some justification for that, and then you'll get yourselves into more of a pickle. So it's easier just to follow the lease from day one. Even if everybody pays on time and the rest of it, you don't know in the future who's going to own that property. It might be somebody really nice now, and then in the future it might be Mr. and Mrs. Awkward, and you know, you get yourself into a bit of a pickle with that. So the second thing you need to do is to print the tenants' rights and obligations summary on the back of every invoice or enclose it. Now, there's no rule about whether it needs to go on the back or be enclosed, but me personally here, we prefer to print it on the back, because then there's no doubt. It doesn't get missed out as an enclosure, people don't drop it as they open the letter, it's always on the back. As a rule of thumb, obviously you can't always do that on every single one, but you must do that, and that gives them their rights and you know, information on how they can object to those bills and take it to a tribunal and say the costs are unfair and so on. So you have to explain that to them via that notice, and it is specific wording. It's not something you can just write on the back and make up. It's specific wording with specific font size, and it all fits onto one A4 bit of paper. I'm sure you can probably find it on the internet, but if anybody is missing it at all, please feel free to drop a comment in the sections below, and I'll see what I can do in order to give you a link to where I can find one. So those are the key things. So sending the invoices out in line with the lease, making sure the wording's on the back, and giving reasonable timescales to pay. assuming you've done all of that, then you can then go to a solicitor. Obviously, they may still say the costs are unreasonable. So if you've decided you're going to gold plate the roof, they could take you to the tribunal and say that's an unreasonable cost, it's betterment, it's not something I'm responsible for. That is a different argument as to I just don't want to pay, cleaning, grass cutting and the rest of it. As long as those contracts are not wildly out of kilter with normal market rates, then realistically it's a pretty clear case. But you must have done those key steps that we mentioned earlier. So I hope that's been really useful to everybody. Please do hit the like button. Don't forget to share the video around. If you've got any questions at all, please do put them in the comments section below. I know I've got quite a few followers that really do like these leasehold videos, and I want to do more of them, and they do really help existing clients as well as new ones have a good understanding of the sort of leasehold setup, especially from that kind of self-managed point of view. So when you're looking after your own building, we come across it time and time again. Normally when we're appointed to run a building, it's because things have broken down, there's debts have built up, communication channels have broken down and the rest of it. And these are beautiful ways, if you do follow the system properly, as we would do as agents, generally you don't get yourself into that much of a mess. I do accept that it is quite hard when you've got 6 of you living in a converted building and 5 of them are saying, why don't we just chuck money in the pot as and when it's required? Seems sensible, it's our house, our freehold. And the reality is that's all well and good until a dispute comes up. So, as I say, don't forget to hit the like button, comment below if you've got any questions at all, or if you enjoyed the video, and I shall see you in the next one.